So yesterday we discussed on the acceptance on all these unpleasant thoughts, difficult thoughts. uh, that a lot of times we learn to accept them. Neither we push them away or welcoming them, uh, but just to see them as they really are, with mindfulness, with clarity, with clear comprehension. So a lot of times I say that some of these past memories, past thoughts, or sometimes even future or even present, those thoughts that arises, they are difficult to see, difficult to um, difficult to look into it, because they arouse a lot of emotional states, sadness, anger, frustration, you know, and all kinds of negativity. Uh, so this time, when this type of thoughts arises, so you should not suppress them. You should not usually when we suppress them is usually the back behind it is a lot of aversion towards these type of thoughts. We want to suppress it. Then if we if we do like that, then more and more these thoughts will arise because these type of thoughts feeds on the unwholesome state of mind, feed on the aversion, and more the mind become more unwholesome. So that is not the way. So we have to pay attention to them. We got to see them as they are. Now, in order for us to see them as they are, therefore we need to have that some degree of mindfulness. You cannot do this in the beginning of a retreat. Mindfulness is not strong. Mindfulness is not continuous. But after a week or so, when there's some degree of mindfulness has developed, then perhaps we can try to notice these type of thoughts if they arise. Don't go and stir it up, It's like a hornet's nest, this one. Don't purposely stir it up. Don't purposely try to recall them. They will come to you, eventually. So whichever the thoughts arises, at that moment of time, you note them. You don't go inside the story as if like you are outside and then you notice anger, dislike, thinking, planning, sadness. You label them as they are. While you're noticing this, we also apply clear comprehension in the sense that we see them how they change. How this emotional state changes. Sometimes the sadness becomes stronger, become less. Anger becomes stronger, become less. Or the thoughts changes from one type of thought to another thought to another thought to another thought. And yet at that moment of time, we are not caught into all these thoughts, all this thinking. As if like you are staying somewhat outside and you notice all these emotional states or these images, these thoughts, this memory passing one after another. Until after some time it's begin to fade off and then it kind of disappear. You'll see that time when the mind, when these type of thoughts fade off, you find that the mind is so freeing. It's kind of like very free from that, for a period of that suffering, mental suffering that you're going through. And also I say that this one is in a way, it's kind of a healing for us. It heals the mind. It heals the mind in the sense that how we respond to this type of memories. Every time in the past that this type of memories arises, the moment it arises, anger. The moment it arises, suffering, sadness, or emotional entanglement, dislike, aversion, all there. But this time, as you grow into the mindfulness, these thoughts arises. It helps to we respond to it with equanimity, with mindfulness, with clarity. You don't forget. You don't forget, but it does not affect you anymore. Yeah? So it's more good in that sense. Actually, not only this, but also in future, that you can able to notice these states of mind of their past difficult memories, but also in future, next time you so happen to meet with difficult situation, you meet with difficult people, uh, then the mind also learn how to respond with clarity, responds with mindfulness, responds with understanding, responds with compassion, uh, rather than as response with anger, jealousy, and so on. Yeah? Then it'll be good for you. Yeah. So a lot of things can change. Yeah. How your mind responds to a lot of things. So too, like pleasant states of mind, pleasant thoughts. Now, pleasant thoughts, when those pleasant thoughts arises, normally we crave for them. We want them. We want them to be more and more. So, for example, there's something joyful, or they are planning to do something joyful with a family, or the past events of the past. There's something joyful arises. Then we kind of like stay inside there. We want to go again and again. We want to make. We want to keep that memories there. Yeah. So here again the same thing. You got to learn to accept it. Neither you welcome it nor you reject it. Uh, they are just thoughts. So that time you notice it as thinking, thinking, or memory, memory, or joy, 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 happy, 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 happy. Uh, so when you notice that, you notice the happiness gets stronger, weaker, fade away, or the thoughts fade away, or the thoughts come back again. How would they all change one after another? So a lot of all these thoughts that arises during in the practice, uh, uh, they eventually they will come. So eventually you must note them, and you must have the skills to note them. Hmm? Now towards the end, I mentioned a little bit on the acceptance on the drowsiness, sleepiness also. Hmm? This one for some yogis, not many, but for some yogis, this one affect them more compared to thinking mind. But most yogis is all, mostly yogis all thinking mind more problematic. Yeah. The the sleepiness, drowsiness, they are not so problematic for most yogis. But once in a while, we do meet them. Yeah. Now, when this sleepiness comes in, or drowsiness comes in, when it comes to the drowsiness, that means here it has come to a strong, the Pali word is called Tinamida. Thima, Thina, Midda. Tinamida. Uh, usually they translate as drowsiness or sleepiness. Uh, when it comes to drowsiness, sleepiness, it means it comes to a strong part of it. But there's a weaker one, that you are not sleepy, but you are just mentally lazy. Mentally lazy, but you're not sleepy. You can sit there, you just don't want to do anything. Yeah. You can sit there, don't want to do anything. Yeah? Sit there. You can walk, but your mind is just don't want to do anything. You just walk only. It doesn't want to put an effort inside there. It doesn't want to note. It's just there. Yeah. But you're not sleepy. You're quite alert. But you're just lazy. Yeah. So this is a weaker type of this one. For example, in the bed, you want to wake up in the morning. 4 o'clock already. 4:30. You say. It's still difficult to get up. Yeah. Actually, we sleep enough already. Yeah. It's just that sometimes in our thinking, we thought that I must have all my beauty sleep 8 hours, 9 hours. This is all your concept. This is all you read too much. Uh, the standard for sleeping for yogis is actually 4 hours. That's Buddha's recommendation, not my recommendation. 4 hours plus minus maybe an extra hour, 5 hours, about there only. That's what. Here we already. Here, don't worry. Is here you sleep 6 hours. After sometimes afternoon you take a nap also. We also know it's not a problem actually. Here the practice is tough. It's very challenging. It's really use a lot of bodily energy. By the time you hit your bed, the moment few minutes you're totally off already. Now, when it comes to this drowsiness, this sleepiness of mind, again here we have to learn to accept them too. They will be part of your meditation every retreat you go. Every retreat you go in the future, somewhere in the middle of the retreat, there will be definitely drowsiness coming in. And also, like in every retreat too, there are certain part of the day you are more drowsy compared to other times. Other times you're more alert. Yeah. You know, after a while you meditate here. Let's say we go for a longer retreat, 1 month maybe, 2 months maybe. You begin to see yourself actually. You begin to see how your body responds. Some people they are more alert in the morning, more drowsy in the afternoon. Some people drowsy in the mornings, then more alert in the afternoons or towards the evening. Each and every one of us different. But as we get older, our body also change. Now here, understanding of this drowsiness also. Now eventually they will come. Sometimes, for whatever reasons, they can come a lot. Every time you sit down, you feel so frustrated. Every time the mind goes into drowsiness, sleepiness, and then you compare to your previous days. I'm quite alert. I was alert for 3 or 4 days. How come today? Oh, I'm so sleepy, so drowsy. Whatever I do, still not able to arouse that sleepiness. Then the mind gets frustrated. So the mind gets frustrated. So sometimes, as I said, when the people get frustrated, they all do all kinds of things which is not good for the development of the mind. Sometimes people like to, they like to stiffen up themselves, the whole body, Or sometimes there are people go jogging, start running, to get the body active. There are people like that, I think perhaps some of you also done it also. They go circle, the running meditation. Yeah. Yeah. A number of times in the Mahayana tradition, sometimes they have that, I've seen also people, just frustrated with that sleepiness. Again and again it comes in. So here we should not try to try to push it away. Because this sleepiness, you got to remember, is a present object. It's a present object. Thinking mind also, when you notice as a process, they are also present object. The content of the thinking, they are all conceptual, created by the mind. But the process that produced thinking, they are all present objects. So to sleepiness too, they are present objects. That means present object can be used as a vipassana objects, and therefore it can be noted too. But you must have the skills to note them. So here, if you're able to capture, you know that the drowsiness is coming. You know the mind starts to become drowsy. And after a while, you meditate. If you are, let's say you're noticing the rising and falling or something changing in the body, you're noticing clearly. Sometimes in the back of your mind, you know that it's coming. It may not be immediately become strong, but it kind of like slowly come into your noting mind. And then somehow or another, the noting mind gets weaker. It's like you step on you push on it, but kind of like it's not that clear anymore. You know that your noting mind is dropped maybe to 70% clarity. 30% has been covered up by drowsiness starts coming in. Yeah? But this one takes skills. This one takes some degree of practice in order to understand how this drowsiness is coming in. Now, if you can catch it, then wonderful. Then it's good. You can feel that the noting has starts to change. It starts to weaken. Yeah? So take note of it. Now, if it becomes clearer, it becomes stronger. That means your mind is getting weaker. Yeah? So what you should do? Yeah? You should learn to see it as they are. In other words, you got to note them. This time, you got to note them more energetically. Sleepy, 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 drowsy, 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 drowsy. And yet at the same time, you notice them, how they change. And I said yesterday, this drowsiness has different characteristic, different ways how it comes in. And sometimes these characteristics, they are different. And they are different from time to time or person to person. So it'll be good that take note of them. It gets interesting actually. You begin to know the different shades of sleepiness or laziness of the mind. So it starts coming in. For example, some people notice it as if like something heavy, like a pillow, suddenly come there, pom. Everything go dark, or blanket go through, or something that you feel that the whole head is become so heavy, or as if like it's sinking down. It's sinking down until there's nothing much, no ending, uh, into a abyss, uh, or or something like it's just make you stop the noting, not really stop, but weaken the noting. So it comes in different shades, and it's good that for you to recognize these different characteristics, because however it comes in next time, there you are. You know, here, when it comes in, you also don't even know. You just come in, and then after that, how come I'm drowsy already? By the time it hit you 100%, you don't even know what you're doing already. Because when I say sleepiness, it's not sleeping. Sleeping is not sleepiness anymore. It's not drowsy anymore. This one is that you are drowsy, but it's not sleeping. But you know that your mind just cannot do anything. But you do not know how, when, where it did it come in. because the mind is not sharp enough, not clear enough. Yeah. So you got to learn to feel its different characteristic. You learn to feel its different characteristic. So you come in. When you come in, if you catch it, you notice drowsy, 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 and you energetic. You pull up your energy. You're not drowsy, 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 drowsy. See whether you can overcome the drowsiness, and at the same time, you watch that drowsiness as sometimes it becomes stronger, clearer, sometimes it becomes darker again, clearer, and then completely gone. Then you see how the drowsiness is changing. Yeah? Then you turn that drowsiness into your meditation object. And yet at the same time, you arouse the mindfulness. Yeah? And this is something that all yogis must have some skills into dealing with this. After all, they're going to come every retreat. After all, they're going to come every day. Yeah? Vipassana is not just only rising and falling out. Vipassana is not only in the lifting, pushing, dropping out. Although they are primary objects, yes, but the secondary objects also has to be noted. Has to be. You must have the skills to note them too. Yeah? So note them. Make that effort to note the drowsiness. Yeah? See how the drowsiness getting stronger, weaker, and until it diminished. Yeah? So this time you got to make a lot of effort. On yesterday, when it comes into thinking, on the thinking part, when there's a lot of thinking going on, this time you should not exert too much effort. You still note them, but you are more like note them with a more calm state of mind, more peaceful state of mind. Like thinking, memory, planning. Yeah? Not too fast, not too slow, but more gentle. Whereas in the sleepiness, you got to make the effort. You got to really make the effort in order to pull the mind up. Uh, so you got to try that. Yeah, you got to try that. And come and report to me too. Uh, if you don't have it, it doesn't matter. As if you have it, then you note it, then it'll be good. Now, this way of noting, the problem is that not every time you're going to be successful, especially when you are training, dealing with it. Yeah? A lot of times the sleepiness will be stronger than your mindfulness. After all, you you still sleep. you know, you still you try again, you still get drowsy. And then you get frustrated. That I understand too. Because in the beginning part, when we deal with this drowsiness, they are a formidable foe. They are very strong. They are not going to be easily shaken. You think with their little mindfulness, can knock them down. No, not yet. Not yet. Yeah. So let's say tomorrow there's sleepiness come in. So you try to note them. Sleepy, drowsy. It's not working. Then what are you going to do? Sleep. Let's continue with it. No, you got to do something else. You cannot give up. There's no such thing as just giving up. Yeah. So what can you do? Yeah. One of the good things is that in Vipassana, if you cannot directly deal with the defilement itself, you cannot deal with that hindrance, you cannot deal with that drowsiness, then you use another way. we use another way. What we need right now to deal with the drowsiness is that you must need a lot of mental energy. Okay? Mental energy and effort, they are they are opposite of each other. They cannot come together. If strong drowsiness, then the energy is very weak. If the energy is strong, mindfulness is strong, then this one is not there. So you got to arouse that effort right now. But how are you going to arouse that effort? This time we don't have to go directly look at the drowsiness, because if you look at the drowsiness, it doesn't work, and you try it and try it, it doesn't work. So what can we do? So the principle, again, as I said, it arouses that effort, arouse that energy, arouse that alertness. So what we can do, like for example, in a sitting meditation, you use the sitting and touching. The sitting and touching method is a very useful tool in the sense that you take note of your palms, for example. You note it more clearly. You know the sleepiness is there, you know the sleepiness, but you put it aside, but you note touching, 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 touching. You note a few times. You feel the hot or the sweatiness or the warmness. Then you move to your buttock, for example. Sitting, 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 sitting. Then you feel the pressure or you feel the pain there. Then you move to another next one, next buttock. Sitting, 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 sitting. Then you come back to the hands again. Touching, 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 touching. Or sometimes you can use the whole body also. From head, you scan it down. Or the whole thing, you scan it down and sitting. And you do slightly faster. You do slightly faster. Then back to the teaching. The whole thing is to make the mind alert, to make the mindfulness, to reactivate the alertness of the mind. And when the alertness of the mind increases, then in the background, the drowsiness starts to decrease until it disappear. And when it disappears, you go back to the rising and falling all over again. That's one way. One way we can do that. Now, if you're walking, sometimes the walking also the drowsiness may come in once in a while. So what can you do? So you change your pace, maybe slightly faster. Slightly faster. Or sometimes once in a while, this is again trial and error, you can actually need to slow down too and pay a little bit more attention to your steps, like hard, soft, and then all the sleepiness gone. So that one is not too often, but once in a while it may happen. So a lot of times you have to trial and error. Or you can use your secondary objects of the walking meditation. So you walk, you learn to feel the upper part of the body, the knees moving, or the thighs moving, or the hips moving, or you just run around the body, noticing a little bit here, noticing a little bit there, noticing the hips here a bit, noticing the arms, shoulders, whatever that's going on, So you notice these things just to make the mind activated. You just don't let it become drowsy and more drowsy. I mean, what's the point, So do something about it. The Buddha also recommend, like, if you cannot do this way, there are other ways also, which is maybe not really vipassana, but it's just only to settle the drowsiness so that you can do something later. The Buddha also recommend, like, stretching your arms and your legs and your body mindfully. Mindfully. But don't start do yoga here, After that, you do all kinds of thing, everything headstand lah. You better tone it down just for the sake of stretching the body, or do a little bit here and there. Don't start a Tai Chi class, or Qi Gong, like over here, and start like, then the whole hour. Yeah, the whole exercise part is just meant for to warm up the body, just to warm up the body, but not too much. Don't disturb other yogis. You are sleepy, but other yogis can be quite alert. So go to somewhere. You want to walk slightly faster, and then do a little bit faster. Maybe go out a bit, or go to the back somewhere. Don't disturb other yogis. People are going lifting, pushing, dropping, and then here you beside you lift, you go up and down, FIFA, FIFA. Now, how are people going to meditate? There's some people just don't care. I've seen people like that. Uh, So you got to consider other yogis too. Some people don't bother, don't care. So if you need to go faster, then go to the back. Go somewhere that you don't disturb other yogis, or go outside. Maybe if it's not too cold for you. As long as you don't disturb others, then go slightly faster. But don't start running. Just go slightly faster. Somewhere what we call a brisk walk, just to make sure that your body warms up and your mind is not dispersed. Then good. Even you do your exercise, and just be aware of the movements of the body. Don't let the mind goes into disperse. Then it'll be good for you, because stretching and so on, it helps to warm up the body. At the same time, mindfulness is being slightly developed here and there. So that's wonderful. The Buddha says also, like walking in the place where it is or sitting actually also in a place where it's quite bright. Too dark also is not a good this one. Too darkness kind of like externally induced to you starts to get sleepier. So a bit of brightness, that's good. Some degree of brightness is always good. I always sometimes in a retreat for myself, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, when the sun not up yet, the mind still cannot. Then once the sun comes up, after breakfast and everything, my mind alert already. Then the sun starts going down, also my mindfulness starts going down too. Solar mindfulness. Now, the Buddha also mentioned about there's another way called the perception of light. The perception of light here is something to do with samatha practice, but we just do it for a short while in order to overcome the drowsiness. Here, the perception of light means that you imagine or you create places of brightness or lights in the mind. You create that out. Sometimes you find that there's drowsiness comes in, then you were sitting and then you try this, try that, doesn't work. So one way is that to remember a place or some kind of spotlight, or you are looking at this mentally, you are looking at the sun without clouds, totally like so bright there. It kind of like you need that a bit of imagination. That one, when the brightness of the mind is there, it also in a way that it keeps the drowsiness aside, or it removes that drowsiness. So when you notice this brightness, you notice as bright, 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 and then when the drowsiness, you know that it begin to disappear, your job is just to stop that brightness, stop that imagination, come back to the rising and falling, or come back to the sensation. And this is called a perception of light. So we just do that only to reduce the drowsiness and no more than that. Don't get attached to it. We just use it for a purpose only. Some people, they like to they want to attach to that brightness. Next time when you sit, when you notice brightness comes up, you notice that there's no drowsiness. If it so happen it comes up, yeah, there's no drowsiness when the brightness of the mind is there. Yeah. So this one we purposely induce that brightness just for the sake of overcoming drowsiness. When the drowsiness is overcome, then we let go of that. When we let go of that brightness, we back again to the sensation of the body. And that also can be helpful. Sometimes this way, sometimes the drowsiness can go very fast. Within a minute or two, everything gone. Yeah. But it's a skill again. It's something that each one have to try. So you can imagine, you can remember, you can recall the past experience, or you imagine the sun, you imagine bright lights, you imagine you're in the beach and it's very bright in the middle of the afternoon, or somewhere in a field or whatever, as long as it's bright for you. So it's something like that to overcome, but that is not way of vipassana, because we are not seeing the object as they really are. We are just using that to reduce that mind, to reduce that sloth and torpor, to reduce that sleepiness. For that only. Now we go back to the thinking a bit. Similarly, in the thinking, or the thoughts, that we can do something like this also. Now, a lot of times, the thinking mind is not so easy for us to handle because there's a lot of thinking. You try to not thinking, planning, or it's kind of overwhelm you. You just cannot stop. So a lot of time people get frustrated. So if this way cannot work, what can we do? What other method we can try to do? We can try to use like sitting and touching. But this time we do it slower, gentle, a more relaxed tone. Now your mind is a lot of thinking right now. It's not easy for us to bring to another object. But you know that at that time you know that you need to relax the mind. So you relax the mind by going into your touch this time. Noticing the touch right now, but this time you just notice it as touching, touching, touching. Sitting, 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 sitting. Just to reduce it. But then the mind will goes into a lot of thinking again. Then you gently bring it down again. Sitting, sitting. You don't have to go and not thinking. You know it's there, but you put it there, you gently pull it back to the body. Just touching, sitting. You do it slowly, you do it gently, you do it calmly. It helps to oppose the negative over energetic state of mind in order to reduce it, to reduce that energy. So that's one way we can do. Another way we can do, which is also quite effective, if we use that in-breath, out-breath. And a number of days I've talked about in-breath, out-breath, I talk about the primary object, secondary object. And I said that in-breath, out-breath of ours, by nature of this in-breath, of out-breath, they are calm objects. They are gentle objects. And therefore, when you use this in-breath, out-breath, in order to reduce that thinking mind, it can be quite effective. So instead of taking up the rising and falling. So what you can do is that the thinking mind is there. So gently you bring it down to the in-breath, out-breath. In-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath. And you label it. Then it goes into thinking again. Thinking, 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 thinking. By planning out. In-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath. It's quite effective actually. Yeah? Just relax with the in-breath, out-breath until the thoughts slowly and slowly it fades off. Then if it fades off, let go of the in-breath, out-breath, go back to the rising and falling. Go back to the sensation of the body. Keep noting. You have to keep noting something so that the mind is not go into thinking again. If you just relax, you would eventually it goes back to the thinking. Yeah? So it kind of like is a skill again. You take an in breath, out breath to reduce the thinking mind or to stop the thinking mind. Now, if you cannot, sometimes the thinking is so much, you'll find that the bodies get agitated. You sit like that also not right, sit like that also not right. After that, you want to move your leg. After you pull the leg in, after you change your leg, everything is also not right because there's so much thinking. So what can you do? So if you try this and that, you cannot, then we we get up. We get up to walk a little bit. Sometimes the walking just for you to notice something gross, something clear, and you can be able to follow the walking, the right step, left step sometimes, because there's clarity in the walking. The mindfulness automatically develops and pushing the thoughts aside. It may need to sometimes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. You have somehow or another you need to break the too much thinking, the strong thinking. You need to break them. So that's one way. What other ways can we do? Don't talk that much. Talking is a lot of. This. If you talk, uh, if you talk, if you do all the internet and all that, all your messages especially, it would surely disturb you. Yeah. It would make our mind very restless. Just give you one message only. The whole day can be affected. Your whole day. Because you sit down, all the thoughts regarding that message and then it all connects. Rolling again and again. Yeah, that day some people talk in the room. Ladies, female yogis. No, in this retreat, this tradition, yogis, if we caught the yogis talking, in my master, straight away ask you to pack your bag and out you go. No second thought. Yeah. Sometimes I give you a chance because sometimes you may not know. Yeah. But you do that again. We come to know. We ask you to go too. Yeah. Because this talking is worse than COVID. it 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 goes to every yogi. It goes to every yogi. And in the past, we've seen yogis like that. Once start talking, they thought that it's okay. Other yogis thought that it's okay to talk. Then after that, they start already gossiping already. I've seen that you go long enough in retreats, but you go long enough in retreats, you will see these type of things happening. Some people, even you do samatha practice, you want to do metta or do anapana or whatever retreat. One of the first few things that you have to stop that talking. You have to stop that messaging. You stop the internet. You have to put everything aside. Other places that some teachers, they collect your mobile phones. Everything they collect. But yogis smart enough, they bring the second one. Or the third one, what can we do? You know, and they know the teacher style already. Then sometimes there are yogis, Bante, how to go to your retreat if you collect all our mobile phones? Because sometimes we have our clients, we have to. Ah, they try to ask for discount. They ask for discount whether I can do that or not. And again, here you say the problem is that once yogis see another yogi doing this, they thought that it's okay to do that. Then they start doing that too, especially for beginners. If those who are um, more into the retreat more often, they know the rules, they know the regulation, then they know the consequences. Not because the teacher is going to chase them back, but they know the consequences that it will affect their their mindfulness. Uh, uh, it will affect their mindfulness. I've get caught into it from number of times. Not too many times, but once in a while, in a long retreat, sometimes we can start talking a little bit, then it gets a lot of thinking. Yeah? So we got to be careful. Yeah? Even if you have to talk, you can be mindful of your talking too. Yeah? You can learn to be mindful of your talk. For example, you intend of what you want to talk. You know that what you want to talk, and within that scope, you talk during in the retreat. Out there, maybe different story. But here, you intend what you want to talk. You know your framework of what you want to talk. So you talk within that scope only. Yeah? Let's say about things about meditation. You talk within that scope. Or things about walking meditation. You talk within that scope of that walking meditation. Yeah? Then you don't bring back all your past memory, everything, what you do at home and so on. You don't have to do that. You talk about the past 2 days, what have you been doing within that scope. And sometimes also with that too, talking also sometimes once in a while you can be aware of how your mouth move. Yeah, we can aware of how our mouth move. It may not be all the time, but once in a while, if you notice that how the mouth is moving, and you know that what you want to talk, what message you want to convey, and when the teacher is talking back to you, then or saying something, give you some advice, you are listening, then that'll be good. Sometimes there are yogis. Actually, many times I've seen this. They come to the interview room. When I give them advice, they don't really listen, although their eyes is looking at you, but their mind is already processing what they're going to talk after that. So they are not registering inside there. They already like, you know that their eyes, you know that they are start thinking already. They're not listening to what they are talking. There are people like that. Because immediately I stop, their mouth open already. You know that they are being processing inside there. Yeah. Other words, their mind is going so fast. So slow down a bit, relax a little bit, yeah, slow down a little bit. So sometimes when you slow down a bit, you can convey the message clearer. You don't have to use so many words. You can convey the message clearer. At the same time, you can be mindful of how you move your mouth, and actually, when you finish that interview, when you go out from the interview, the mindfulness still intact. Some of you, the moment that come out from the interview, your mind is like, Then you sit down again, everything repeats of the interview. Isn't it? So you try that and see, you try that to be mindful of your talking too. So anytime that you want to talk, If it's, as I said that day, if it's not necessary, then don't talk. If it's necessary, then we talk. That'll be good for you because it will reduce all your restlessness, all your thinking mind, overthinking mind. Uh. This thinking mind of ours, now this thinking mind of ours, it's not so easy for us to deal with them. But we try during in the retreat. But a lot of our habits of overthinking is because our whole life we have been doing like that, isn't it? Don't think that you come here only you have overthinking. Actually, back at home, you think so much, you plan so much, everything you want to do, planning, thinking, everything. Uh, even you retired already, like looking at all your most of your faces here. Even you retired already, but the habits still follow you through. Uh, all the thinking, too much thinking sometimes. No, I'm not saying that thinking is no good. We have been brought up in the culture, especially in the Western culture right now. You are taught to think everything. Everything's to plan, to think and think. So until the habit, we cannot stop. Sometimes I go in the past when I was in Europe teaching, a lot of times I have to deal with this thinking before I teach them meditation. It's like I'm a counselor, psychotherapist. To just to make sure that their thinking mind reduce because they overthink until they cannot meditate. The moment they sit down, going on and on and on, the mind starts to calm down. Then they start thinking all over again, and all their thinking is sometimes really nonsensical, no sense, or sometimes they go into a lot of over over analyzing, overthinking. Sometimes they just say a word only or want a sentence, or they can think about it for a few hours. What did the Bhante say? They can analyze, because of the habit, strong habit. And all this habit, as I said, is in our everyday life. And if we have done it. So in order for us to reduce that overthinking of ours, when we go back when we go back, you learn to check your own mind. See, is it that our mind is doing a lot of thinking and we do a lot of talking, especially? Talk also cannot stop. Especially the ladies. Sorry to say that. Don't get angry with me. But the moment they start doing the talk, sometimes there are ladies, I'm sorry, sometimes there are yogis. Before I start talking, I can't even, within the 10-15 minutes, I don't even got a chance to give any advice. Because everything, they cover everything from the moment they sit down, pay respect, finish, until they finish. There are people just like that. I don't know what to do to give. I know something there. I know while they are speaking, I know that's something where problem already. Then after that, they speak something. There's some it needs to be improved on that area, because all the words that's coming out, but they just cannot stop. They just everything off. Then I say, what to do? Yeah, I give you another extra 5 minutes or so. You cannot stop. Out you go. Next. There are people like that. So that's why even you come into the interview room, and you be mindful. Be mindful. You do your thing slowly. Be mindful. Not too slow. Don't be so slow until you pay respect. 10 minutes. Then another. Yeah. Just mindfully, gently, you sit down or pay respect. You sit down, okay, not too slow. But then Then when we talk, we give the whatever that you need to speak. Then you speak. Yeah. And you do this in your other future retreats. You find that even after your this one, you find that it's quite your intact. Your mindfulness is quite intact during that time. Hmm? Uh, so these some of the things that you can try. You check for yourself to keep your mindfulness in the present, to deal with this thinking mind, to deal with this drowsiness and so on. You learn to face them. You learn to see them. You learn to watch them. Observe them, how they come and how they go. Label them also. If this way cannot, then you find another way. See what other ways that you can able to arouse back that mindfulness and to overcome that sleepiness or that thinking mind. Okay? So we stop here for tonight. We'll continue. We'll talk about something else tomorrow. All right.